guys, this is Pat and Heidi from Rain Country Homestead again. And
God is good all the time.
I almost forgot that.
Yeah, usually it's me that forgets when we're together.
So we want to talk today about being financially savvy.
Yeah, we just have a few tips that we wanted to talk about. It's not like we don't have a zillion other financially sound type videos like how to get out of debt or how we got out of debt and how to be frugal and all that kind of stuff. But we just had some tips that we wanted to throw out that we may have mentioned in other videos, but want to compile them together into this one to give you guys some ideas on it's not just about saving money, it's about how to be smart with your money. So.
Well, the first thing that we have is we want to encourage you to use your credit card.
What? What did you
use
just
that
say?
credit card.
Use that credit card. Actually, yes, I did put that down as tip number 1, and that might sound really kind of out of whack.
Yeah, it seems like it's a counterproductive for what we're wanting to do, but Heidi will explain why.
Okay, so obviously this tip is only going to go for those who have control over their credit cards and don't just use it thinking they can buy whatever they want. So how this is done, if you have the discipline to handle a credit card, then we recommend you apply for a credit card that earns you cash back. So typically what you're going to find is those credit cards have a higher interest rate, but the whole point of this is you're not going to be paying any interest on this card because you will be keeping it paid off at least once a month, if not twice a month or every week even. So what we do is we use our credit card to earn money. We haven't paid even a fraction of a cent in interest because we keep it paid off, but we use it all the time for big purchases and small purchases so that we're constantly building up those points that we then can redeem. And we've probably earned, in the years we've had it, maybe a couple $1,000s off of that card. I mean, over the long term, if you break it down by the month, you're not earning that much a month. It could be as much as $20 or $25 a month, but it's still something, and it's really nice when it comes down to it, when you have that $250 or even $300 or even just $25 or $50 that you can redeem when you need it. And so it's just another way that you can earn a little bit extra on the side that can really pay off.
Right, and that's not for the person who doesn't have that control. It takes a lot of us sometimes a long time to gain that control over your credit cards, because you get a credit card and you think, oh, I've got $15,000 line of credit or whatever it is, I've got $15,000 to spend. No.
Nope.
It takes the time to manipulate that thought process and get into the control factor of being able to get a handle on those finances before you start stepping off into this particular mindset. A lot of people don't have that control, so this is not for folks who don't have the control over the credit card.
And I think it also is going to work best for those who are already mostly debt-free or just have a really good grasp on their finances. Because here's the thing, another major important point on using your credit card is you shouldn't see that $15,000 as money to spend. You look at what you have after you pay your bills for that month. What do you have? What is left in your checking account? Don't ever charge what you don't have budgeted. So we budget a certain amount for groceries or whatever, and then that credit card, we buy all of our groceries with the credit card, and then that we stay within our budget and we pay it off. The money, if the money's not there to pay it, then it's not going to get spent. We're not going to make that charge.
Right.
So don't make the charge unless you already have the money in hand or in your bank account ready to pay it off immediately as soon as the charge shows up on the credit card.
This is just a money-making strategy is what it is.
Yep. Tip number 2 I put down on paying ahead on bills whenever possible. Now this doesn't always work for everyone on depending on your location and whatever your public utilities or whatever that particular bill is. Like for us, for our cell phone bill, when we had Verizon, I could pay ahead on it. But because we have Straight Talk now and it's a month by month thing, I can't really pay ahead on it. It's just an automatic charge. But that's okay. But with our public utilities, with our water and with our power, and yes, you know, we are partially off grid, we have solar power and all that. So this is actually a little easier for us because our power bill is pretty low anyway. But we always keep it paid ahead. I actually haven't been paying ahead anymore. I'm just keeping it where it's at, which we are about, you know, it's always kind of a guess. We are approximately a year ahead on our public power bills and a year ahead on our water. Something
and
like that.
that didn't happen overnight.
No.
It was a slow investment into that account that got us to that point. You know,
like paying $10 extra or $20 extra
whatever you
a month.
can. You know, if you've got extra money, it's a good place to put it. That way, you're assured that okay, well, I'm not going to have the utility company coming and threaten you with you know, threatening to shut your power off, you cut your water off. You know, at least it gives you another buffer. So.
Right, and it's just another way to prep. Now, it's not going to earn you interest. It's not like putting your money in a CD where it's going to earn some interest. But the thing is, it is, like you said, it's a buffer. So if something happens, you know, you're covered. But not even just that. Sometimes it's just the silly little things, like you thought you paid the bill that month, and then the next month you get a thing that says you owe for 2 months, and you're like, what? And then you go find that you had actually written out the check, but you stuck it in a drawer instead of in the mailbox. So, you know, silly things like that where it's just, you just had a, you know, brain cramp and missed it. Well, you're covered. You're covered, and then you can catch up on it the next month. No big deal.
Right.
So, and so we do that with our water bill as well. We keep, you know, and we do have the rainwater, but yes, you know, we, again, best of both worlds there. So that makes it easier for us to get ahead and stay ahead because we're not spending as much on the utilities because of that. But still, this can also be done with other things too. So whatever bills that you have, you know, maybe you have, you know, insurance. Here's another thing when it comes like your auto insurance. Pay for the full thing all at once if you're able to. And if you're not able to yet, eventually once you get your other debts paid off, then take that and then always have that money set aside and build up that money so that you know when that insurance bill comes around, pay it all at once, because if you're making monthly payments, you're going to get charged more. So typically you're going to get charged more for
processing fees, administrative.
And then at least with our insurance, because we pay the whole thing all at once, the whole, you know, for the whole 6-month period, we get a discount then, which can be anywhere from $50 to $100, maybe $150 each time. And, you know, that's significant. So just another little financial tip. And again, it calls for careful planning and always being ahead. And it can take a while to get there.
Right.
If you're not used to doing it that way, it might take you time to get to that point, but it can be done.
Well, the next thing is to buy real expensive stuff.
Yes and no. It depends on what it is.
So, if you find you have a need for something, a new car, or a new tool, or a new kitchen gadget, you know, don't go down to the Dollar Tree and buy, you know, within reason, don't buy
a car.
Don't buy junk. You know, you can. I say that tongue in cheek with a new car. You know, we're done buying new as far as vehicles are concerned.
Absolutely.
At least I think we are. And whenever we look for a vehicle, it's going to be a good used vehicle, a good quality vehicle.
Right.
And so what we're the next point is to buy quality,
right,
and not quantity.
Yeah.
You know, because if you buy something cheap, well, you bought a cheap thing. Mm-hmm. If you buy something that's expensive but it's used, it could be a good used high quality car or tool. But if you buy quality, then you're going to have something that could last you for a long time. You know, metal versus plastic, you know, that kind of a thing.
Yep.
So
That's like the Country Living Gray Mill. That thing is solid.
That thing's built like a tank.
Or an all-American canner. These things are expensive items if you have to buy them new. If you can't find them used, they are expensive. But even if you have to go that route and buy them brand new, it's worth the investment because they will last a lifetime.
But your money ahead if you could buy a used one, like the
canners.
The canners that we got or whatever. But I just recently made a purchase on a piece of equipment. It's a good quality piece of equipment. I got it less than half of what you could buy one new. So yes, you're going to have to be a little bit more mechanically inclined because things are going to wear out on it sooner. But I'm probably money ahead for the things that I do with it because, we're just going to get it to hopefully develop a piece of property one of these days, or help out the kids or whatever. Yep. So, if you buy a piece of equipment, or you buy a tool, or you buy a kitchen utensil, or a car, rototiller, look for a good name.
Right.
Do a little bit of research, find out what the weak links are on that item that you're thinking about buying, and buy a good used one. Replace the bearings in it or whatever it is you got to do, the high wear items, and you're back in business. So,
right.
Yeah.
And that also, on the other side of that doesn't mean run out like for the ladies, for example, of course, because that's going to be the example I give. Don't run out and buy a big fancy KitchenAid mixer because it's supposed to be high quality and everybody has one and it's great, when a little hand egg beater is going to work just as well for you. This is why I don't have a KitchenAid. I have never found, other than making homemade marshmallows, which is so rare, I have never found a need to spend that kind of money on something that's going to take up more room on my counter. Yes, it's supposed to be high quality, but it's not worth the investment for me to do that when my little $20 egg beater that I can just do by hand, that doesn't take any electricity, does everything I need it to do. So, I whip cream, mashed potatoes, everything with that thing. And so, that goes both ways. But that little egg beater I have is a good quality egg beater. It's not a cheap knockoff brand either. So, one that cost me only $5, that now I'm going to have to replace it next week because I broke it already. So that's the thing. You're money ahead to spend a little bit more on high quality than to go to the dollar store and buy something that's going to break next week and not going to, and then you have to keep buying it and keep buying it. And now how many times did you have to buy it when you had this one here? That's the way I feel about blenders. My $20 Oster has lasted me far longer than any expensive brand blender I have tried. And within 6 months I was wearing them out. But my little $20 Oster has handled far more than any of those other things ever have. And so it doesn't always have to be expensive. It's quality that matters. And so you make sure too, like if you're looking on Amazon, doesn't mean you have to buy it at Amazon, but if you're looking on Amazon, that's always a great place to read reviews on products. And then you can go buy it at your local store, maybe save money that way too. So just think about that.
Yeah, just because it's a Mercedes or it's a KitchenAid doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't have weaknesses as well. It's man-made.
Yep.
So yeah, do your research and make sure that when you do buy, and if you can buy used, that's great. If you see a used one out there for sale, do a little bit of homework on it before you buy it. See what the reviews are and see if people are having problems with them.
Right.
So.
But
now with her, she's always breaking stuff, so I don't care what you buy.
Yeah, but I still have my sewing machine. I still have that $20 blender. I haven't broke it yet. So hey. Oh, another thing I just thought about too is sometimes when you're looking at stuff, all the big fancy things that have computerized this and that, your washing machine with a LED screen or whatever it is, that all might seem fine and dandy. But typically those are not going to be worth the price because now what you're buying is something that has more stuff to maintain on it, more stuff to go wrong. So consider that too, because that could be not such a good investment.
Well, in my opinion, when you have the XYZ model, And people always want to get the XYZ Super Deluxe Platinum Gold version because it's a prestige thing. And manufacturers, they have engineered obsolescence. So that big fancy version of that model may very well go gunny bags or might break down faster than the cheaper simple model.
Yep.
That might last a little bit longer because it doesn't have all the
Extra doodads.
extra doodads on it. And guess what? You know, usually when people have a lot of money, they don't want to fix an old used one or a new old used one for them. They just want to replace it. So they're going to go find another version and haul the other one to the dump or hire somebody to haul it to a dump. So big industry has things kind of figured out where there's engineered obsolescence, and sometimes the engineered obsolescence is very well factored into appliances.
Yeah.
Not necessarily vehicles, because vehicles are kept for a longer period of time. You know, people might trade up on those things, but they're still wanting to keep their reputation a little bit intact.
Right.
So appliances are something that's
Cell
cheap
phones,
enough for people.
computers.
People just get these things, and anymore it's a throwaway item.
So looking for the more simple model, in other words, rather than all the glitz and glamour, is usually going to be your better investment.
So the next point is point number 4, and that is to review your finances regularly. A lot of times we get wrapped up in day-to-day activities, and before you know, the end of the month is up and on us, and we haven't anticipated what our monthly bills are because, well, we needed this thing, we needed that thing, and we needed this other thing. And it's good to sit down, you know, Heidi and I, we sit down at least once a week and look over our bills together and find out where, you know, where our expenditures were and what our expenditures are going to be in the future. So we try to anticipate some of those things that come along, and we save accordingly. Again, I made a big purchase here recently. I've been kind of planning for this for a while.
A long time.
And we have been, you know...
Just like the property.
Yeah, we've been saving up. We've been saving by keeping the lights turned off and being mindful of how much water we use and how much electricity we use, and...
Not going out to eat all the time.
Not going out to eat all the time. So those small sacrifices, they add up over time.
Yep.
And so,
They
you know,
sure
if you
do.
see us and, you know, I have a piece of equipment, or I have a tool, or Heidi has a kitchen gadget, or whatever it is that she gets. Not much lately, is it?
No.
But anyway, you know, if you see us with things, they're generally not new, but there are things that we've been planning on for a while, and we've been saving in a lot of small different areas in order to make these big purchases. So being financially savvy is good all around. It makes you feel better. It helps you to plan better. It maximizes your dollar. So when you go out and make that hourly wage that you got, stretches farther. When the more you save, the more you make.
So if it seems slightly disjointed, we had an interruption and Patrick had to run out the door for a few minutes. But anyway, we were talking about reviewing your finances on a regular basis, especially with your spouse. You know, if you're married, obviously. It's a matter of just sitting down and talking about things, talking about your goals. And this was one of the things that we did on a regular basis when we were especially... Well, we still do, but not as much. We did it mostly when we were paying off the house. And so we would constantly talk about, almost every morning, we'd sit and have our coffee or our jet fueled latte and talk about, okay, what do we want to cut back on next so that we could put even more on the house and get it paid off. And it's amazing how just taking that time to really think, you know, setting aside some time, whether it's just you or you and your spouse, and really examining stuff and figuring out where you can cut and save and make some changes to just better your financial position.
And it's really important for her to cut back on her stuff so I can get more stuff.
Mr. Rain. Come here, Cody. Somebody wants to see you. Come here, and I promised we would say hi. So we got some viewers that like us to show Cody, and I don't always think about it. He's usually napping when we're shooting our videos.
Or barking at somebody.
Or
Then we gotta
barking
cut
at
that out of the
somebody.
video.
Yeah, little guy. So this is our little biscotti. He's half rat terrier and half dachshund. And sometimes you'll see another dog. She's solid black. She is his sister from the same litter, even though she's twice his size. Huh, little guy.
Oh, yeah.
So say hi to Wendy. Hi, Wendy. Okay, anyway, I promised I would do that. So back to our list here. We got a few more to go through. So I was actually only shooting for 5 points, and I ended up with 8. So that's not too bad.
So this is going to be an hour-long video.
No, it's not. So number 5 is, and this goes on along with the prepping thing, and kind of basically, and will be covered in a couple other points that we have here, but stocking up on things that you use on a regular basis that when they're on sale, whether it be toilet paper or food or your chicken feed or your dog food or whatever it is, when it goes on sale, hitting a Costco, if you're like us and you live away, an hour or 2 or 3 away from Costco, get in there, stock up on all those things that you can get for a good deal on there. And when you've got the money, then it's there for you. So it's just, that applies to anything. It doesn't just have to be food. Anything that you use on a regular basis, especially if it's something that you're going to work through, so yeah, consumable items.
Right.
So doing that when they're on sale or any way that you can get a good deal. And then obviously that's just being frugal, but really the thing is once you've got that stuff, then you've spent, it's there for you when you need it, and then you can wait, you've got it there, and you don't have to run and buy it again next week when it's 3 times the price. You can wait until it goes on that sale again, or until you get into your Costco and can find that good deal in there again, whatever it is. So kind of an obvious point, but
Right. That's good to remind.
And then this one I actually heard, it was funny because I was listening to a pastor that I found recently called Reg Kelly. And, he's a King James pastor, the kind I always like. And he said something in one of his sermons I don't recall ever hearing before. And then after I heard that, somebody on one of our frugal-based videos came in and made the same remark. And I'd never heard that before. But we always hear people say living within your means. Don't live above your means. But this one was different. It was live below your means. And that made perfect sense. And that's what we do when we live frugal. There's no reason to have to live right at what you're making, so you're spending every penny every month. If you're living below your means, below, and not trying to keep up with the Joneses, then that's going to free up more money for you to invest in the quality items, or put into savings so that you can later invest in the quality items, or to get ahead on these other bills.
Right.
And then this one I came up with myself. It was just something that hit me one day, is envy is costly. So there's a reason why we're not supposed to covet.
Stop watching those commercials.
Right.
And stop looking at your neighbor, because
Yep.
you're always going to find something that you don't have, and something
Yep.
you just got to have it, and
Right.
always trying to live up to the Joneses is very costly.
It is very costly. And it's in our nature to be that way. I mean, that's why it's one of the 10 Commandments. Do not covet, because covet leads to it. Well, in this context, it leads to overspending, but it can also lead to just about any other bad thing that you can think of. So be happy for your friends and your family for what they have, but instead of being envious of it, just remember, what? You are blessed. Especially if you have a roof over your head and you can have at least 1-2 meals a day, you are blessed.
Right.
And these are, I was thinking the other day, just how we take for granted so often the basic things that we have that a lot of people may not even have. Like in that whole process, it took so long to get the roof on, to redo the roof, because there's so much different things that were happening over the summer. And then Patrick trying to learn how to do the metal roofing and doing as much of it as he could himself and by himself. So it took a long time. And during that time, I kept thinking, man, I sure hope a bad storm doesn't come along, which it didn't. We did get rains. We stayed dry. But regardless, it made me think, once the roof was on and it was solid, I was like, boy, and then we started getting our heavy fall and winter rains. It's like, man, I'm so grateful we have a nice roof. So I had to just think about what a blessing it is to simply have a good roof over our head.
Right.
We're protected, our things are protected, the dog is protected, and I don't have to worry about that. And it makes all the other silly little things that we sometimes worry about or wish we had just seem, well, silly.
Yeah.
And you realize the things that really matter, you probably already have them. And so we got to focus on those blessings that we have in our life. And that's why Scripture tells us to focus on the good things. And I'll put that Scripture reference right here, because whether you're a Christian or not, this applies to everyone, no matter where you're at, because it just makes sense. It's that whole idea of living more positively, and it just makes for a happier life. Anyway, number 8, I put down investments.
Oh, yeah. Focus on taking that extra money. When you live below your means, that means you're bringing more money in that you're spending. So that extra money you can invest in wise investments. Invest in things that you can receive a return on, whether it be equipment or, in the case of doing the videos, putting it back in video equipment, or ways of be able to shoot videos and streamline your time so you can free up time to, figure out ways to save or make money in other aspects of your life. So, land, CDs, money markets. A lot of people might not think along the same lines, but anything that you can see a return on is what you should be thinking about. When we make a purchase, it's in order to help to make us more self-sustainable, to help us save money, to help us make money, and to help others around us. So all those things can be looked at whenever you consider, especially a major purchase. Now, small purchases, the things that nickel and dime you to death, you need to think about those too, but especially on bigger purchases on like a land or a car or a piece of equipment or a house or whatever. All those things you got to think about long term. Is this going to benefit me financially? Is it going to is it going to help my lifestyle? Is it going to help others? Is it going to help my family? So
a lot of times when people think of investments, they think maybe people are speaking only of bank-related things like the money markets, the stocks and bonds and the CDs. And those can be good things depending on who you are and how savvy you are in those things. It can be a little scary sometimes trusting any kind of
financial institutions.
Yeah, financial institutions. I personally don't really trust them, but if you know when to take your money out, that's what's important. Just watch those things. But investments can go far beyond that. And I think land, like we've already mentioned, is probably one of the best things a person can invest in, because there's only so much land out there, and it's not going to lose value. I mean, yes, the values go up and down, but over time, you've got, instead of having that money moldering away somewhere, it's going to be better invested in property and something that can increase in value over time. I'm not, certain things don't increase in value over time, but land does and can. And maybe you buy that land, just like this piece that we bought. We love it. We love this little piece that we bought just up the road. However, it's also another way we can invest our money. If down the road we change our mind, we decide we want a bigger piece, or maybe we do want to move out of the area, we can sell that maybe for more than what we paid for it, and then have just like same thing with this here, and then have money to go buy something different, bigger, better, whatever it is. So, and by then, these things will be worth more money typically, and so that we can sell them for more than what we've invested into them in the first place. So that's just one of the many examples. So think outside the box when it comes to investment. Him buying this a piece of equipment is another way that we were investing our money in something, or even buying that car that we got for a screaming deal on a nice little car so that we could replace the other economy car we had. And it's an investment. Now we've got a good, nice, smooth running car that doesn't need, except for when somebody breaks the window regulator, that doesn't need as much maintenance. No, so we don't have to keep pouring money and time into maintaining the thing so much and fixing things on it. It's more dependable. It was a good investment. So think about these various things, and it gets us from A to B like we need to be. And we don't care about it being fancy. We just want something that's reliable. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's it. That's the 8 points that I wanted to cover in our tips for being financially savvy. So what, of course, we always like you to do is, if you have any other tips you would like to add to this, remember, this isn't necessarily about being frugal, though you can put that in there. We're looking at tips at just taking the money and being wise with what you have, being a good steward with that money. What are some other tips that you can throw out for us and for anyone that wants to come through and read your comments?
Sure.
All right, well, thanks for watching,
Take care.
and God bless.